I'm going to kick this off.
Please.
Episode 140, super exciting. Year-end asks, and we enjoy this kind of stuff. We like getting in the weeds with regard to the mechanics of asking folks for money. And Jason and I always preface that with, hey, probably 99.99% of folks are not going to wake up in the morning and go, oh my gosh, I can't wait to get on the phone and ask folks for money. So we're going to kind of like reverse engineer our process with that after, so much experience. Jason, 3 decades of experience working with nonprofits and boards and committees and all this stuff. And these are also, we're going to talk about year-end ask, but Jay, these are also things that can apply to any kind of capital campaign you run throughout the year, or maybe you're inviting folks to attend
It's all the,
your event.
this applies to
Exactly.
all the above.
So I love how this
Absolutely.
applies to, a multitude of different, playing fields, so to speak. And so that's very exciting. But in case you haven't been here before and you don't know us, I'm Trevor Nelson, Jason Ledlow. We're HGA Fundraising. We're just, a part of HGA Fundraising. It's a pretty awesome family business that we run. But you're at the HGA Free Webinar Series. So thanks so much for coming. Do us a favor. If you have any questions, this is not like, your grandmother's webinar where it's just us and slides and we're talking over them. Very interactive. We want all the questions that you can possibly muster up. And if you're watching this as a recording on our YouTube channel, do us a favor. Don't leave before you subscribe, and leave us a comment or a question in the comments on our YouTube channel. If you're here watching this live, we thank you, and it means the world to us. But do us a favor, stay till the end. We'll have you out of here in under an hour, and we're going to give away an item that you can use at your next event. So stay till the end and win.
To raise more money. Yeah.
You can definitely raise more money with it. We can actually show you how as well. And anyway, yeah, I mean, this is really, really cool. And the seasonality of this is apropos. We talked about this last week, but I'm just going to go ahead and mention this kind of out of turn. But $2.6 trillion is going to be donated in the United States alone this year. $2.6 trillion. The last 10 days of the year is when 10% of that money will be donated. So just chew on that for a friendly
and
stats.
remember the people. Why do people donate $2.6 trillion?
You had 2.6 trillion, but they're going to give 260 billion in the last 10 days of this year. And you stumped everybody, including me, with that question last week.
So I'm going to ask it again.
Yeah, please do.
Why are these people going to give this enormous sum of money in the last 10 days of the year?
It was not as obvious as it seems now.
Pop it into chat if you think you got the answer.
Yeah, you got Q&A at the bottom too. Chat on the side. Go ahead and use it.
Because we asked them to. Good.
Yep, that's it.
Tax write-offs. I want to talk about that for just a real quick second.
Let's do it.
We talk about gifts. Tax write-offs are a benefit. They're not the reason why anybody gives. They're an excuse. If somebody goes and buys a trip at one of your galas or spends something, enormous amount of money on something, they'll go, or that's like buying a new vehicle. They bought this new, $130,000 Escalade, and they go, well, I needed a tax write-off. No one has ever,
or maybe you just wanted a big
bought something for, that's a benefit. Okay, because at the end of the deal, you still spend the money.
Yep.
But it is a benefit, and hopefully we're able to, keep the people in Washington from getting their mitts on it, and they continue to have that write-off and that benefit. But we're talking about year-end asks, but this really applies to everything. Most powerful fundraising tool on the planet is right here. This is it. This is what you can raise millions and millions of dollars with. And it happens because we start making these phone calls and we start reaching out to our donors and we start making asks. But it's hard to do. Anybody here, raise your hand if you woke up this morning and said, I can't wait to raise money today. I'm gonna call 50 people and ask them all for money. I don't think there's one person on this call. And if there is, I'd like to have you come on and tell you.
You're an outlier. You're a lovely outlier.
Yeah. But it's just very, very difficult. I mean, even people who are seasoned fundraisers, when they sit down, they get that list, they start to do it. It's just an uncomfortable feeling, again, because we have this negative connotation of being, solicited to upon, called by spam, robocalls, all those things. But what we need to remember and what we have to reframe is that what we're gonna do is we want to reframe this from being an ask into being an invitation.
I love
And
that.
that's the difference.
That's the framework. That's the paradigm shift. I love that.
And one of the first things, and I'm going to tell you, this is one of the things that's hilarious to me. And so if anybody's doing this, just please, I don't mean any disrespect, but I just want you to understand where we're going. But it's also how we describe who we are, what we do, and what we're going to do.
Yep.
And so it's always amusing to me when somebody calls me, especially if somebody calls for a donation, and they go, "Hi, my name's John, and I'm with ABC Charity. We're a 501c3, and we're this," and they go and tell me all this stuff about we've been here for 32 years, and we're, such and such and so and blah blah blah. And they rarely, if ever, get to the point, tell me what they do.
Yeah.
They're looking for donations, but they're talking about their organization, not what the organization does. And so I want to invite you all to take some notes on this, to write these things down and see how these will apply to your organization.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the first things that we recommend doing is just let them assume that you're a 501c3. You don't need to say it's kind of redundant. If somebody asks you, then obviously you can do that, because now you've engaged in a conversation. But that's what we want to do. We want to engage with people as a conversation. At HGA Fundraising, one of the things that we do is really simple. Somebody says, "What do you guys do?" We help nonprofits raise money. Or actually, we say we help nonprofits raise more money. That's it. That's all we say. Nothing else.
Yeah.
And Trevor, of the times you tell somebody that, how many times does somebody always come back and go, "Well, tell me more about that. How do you do that?"
Very often, actually. Yeah.
It's probably 9 out of 10 times.
Oh, for sure. Well, it's intriguing.
Yeah, well, because we're asking, we're having a conversation, we're telling them something, we're not throwing up on them.
Yeah.
If you started out and you started saying, "Well, let me just tell you about HGA Fundraising, we're this, that, and the other," and you start giving them a 5-minute diatribe, they're kind of going, "Okay, I just was trying to be polite. I got to get off."
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's the first thing we want to do, is we just want to make sure how we identify our company. I challenge you all, if you haven't done this, to be able to talk about what your organization does in 10 words or less. Now, this is not trying to rewrite your mission statement, but it's basically, it's a marketing statement.
Message. Yeah.
Shorter the better.
Yeah. Less is more. Yep.
We send kids with cancer to camp. Okay. Perfect. Whatever it is you do.
Yep.
You've got to break that down into something really simple. Because when you do that, it does a couple of things. Because we're really not talking about just yourselves. We're also talking about your boards, your staff, your boards, and your committees and volunteers, because they're the ones that are out talking about your organization as well. It's really, really hard to ask a board to go out and make phone calls, or a committee to go out and make phone calls, when they don't know what to say.
And if they're all not saying the same thing, if there's not congruency, that can be really a problem. That's conflict delayed, essentially.
Well, I mentioned this last week in part one of this year, setting this up, is we did a little experiment at a fundraiser our fundraising clinic we put on in Dallas. And I asked two different organizations. I asked everybody, but I brought up two organizations specifically. One had 3 people, 3 members of their staff. The other one had 2. And so we had them do this exercise, 10 words or less. None of them gave the same None of them gave the same answer. Not one. You have a director of development, and the executive director gave 2 completely different answers. Yeah. Now, they were close. Don't misunderstand. They were still in the same.
This is not pass or fail. This is just, this is an aha moment. Yeah.
And the point of it was, if it's this difficult for you as a staff to do it, how much more difficult is it to get that message to the board, to the committees, to your volunteers? Because one of the biggest complaints that we hear over and over and over and over and over again is, my board won't call anybody.
Yeah.
They won't pick up the phone. They won't make a phone call. And what we've found is, more times than not, is they don't know what to say.
Yeah.
I mean, they really don't know what to say. And so we want to be specific today and really come up with a program and just a step-by-step plan for you to go through to develop this simple script. Okay. Yep. We're going to call it a script.
I was just going to say that. Let's call it a script. Says, it's an invitation, but let's call it a script. Let's put it all on paper.
Well, I don't want it to sound scripted. Well,
we'll start with this, though.
We're going to start with this and get there, because once you develop that and you get the ease, then it starts changing and you're able to talk more about it. So
I love it.
So the first thing that we've got to do is, and we're changing this from an ask to an invitation, is we've got to say who we are. Okay, we've talked about that.
Yep.
The second thing is we need to talk about who we serve.
Mm.
Okay, so who we are, that's our name. Okay, so let's just say it's ABC Charity. Well, who do we serve? We help send kids with cancer to camp.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, we're going to just make one up. If anybody would like to volunteer and you'd like to do it, I'm happy to. We can
We
work
love
on
this kind of interaction. You don't have to share your camera if you don't want to, but if you want to hop on and work through this exercise with
and we
us,
can
we're
do
happy to
this.
do it. Yep.
So
Yep.
that's who we serve. The next part, where the invitation comes in, is we're going to say, this is what we've done, what we are doing, and what we are going to do. So in other words, we could say, last year, we sent 100 kids to camp.
Yep.
This year, we're sending 150 kids to camp. Next year, we're going to send 200 kids to camp.
Yep. Yep. I love that.
So we've told what we're doing, what we've done, what we're doing, and what we're going to do. That does three things. Well, let's talk about what that does for the person on the other end. First of all, they understand that this is an ongoing concern. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Studies were done a couple of years ago by a group out of London. They did this full survey and these studies, and it found that if they thought that a nonprofit was going to fail and go out of business, they would not give them money.
Yeah.
Because they didn't really care about the organization as a whole. They care about the people they serve. And so I want to make that very clear. I understand you have some wonderful organizations, but the reason they're wonderful is because of what they do.
They have a track record. Yeah.
Well, we all get caught up in who we are. Well, in the reality is it's not who we are, it's what we do.
Yeah. Especially in the nonprofit world. Yep.
And that's where you make that connection, because literacy has always been a thing for me. So I love to contribute to things that tie to literacy. Some people, it's kids going to camp. They love that's really what to do. There's always going to be somewhere, somehow, people are going to connect to what you do. 30 years ago, it was a little different. It was more about who you were. Sure. Now it's about what you do. People care about what you do. They want to know that they're getting more bang for their buck. They want to know that those dollars are going to serve the community. They want to know how they're going to serve the community.
Do you also think that there's been a shift, Jay, as well? It's like where folks want to know, like we constantly use the send kids to camp or teach, equip a child to go to school and learn how to read. Do you think that, because I kind of know the answer in my head, it's, okay, what does it cost per child? You know what I mean?
Do.
Like people really want to know the nitty gritty. They want to understand, and they want to not only qualify, because that's what we're doing by inviting and telling about our track record and what we plan on doing, but they want to quantify. It's like, hey, I can, if it costs $50 a kid, okay, I can afford to send 2 kids, or what have you, or if it's, $50 a kid, I could,
it's incremental cost of service is what you're getting at. And
I think it's really important.
In that way, that's how you break it into a giving unit.
Yep.
And here's a real simple thing. If your budget's, $1 million a year and you serve 1,000 people, okay.
There you go. Yep.
There you go. Now we know how much it is. We know how much it costs to serve a person in your organization.
Yep.
This is not a situation where people are we're trying to tell people we keep our overhead less than 10%, or every 90 cents of every dollar goes. That's not what this is about.
Mm-mm.
Because that's kind of that number doesn't really mean anything. I think that number's BS most of the time anyway. Mm-hmm. Because if you're in the service industry, 90% of the funds are going to go supplying staff to provide the services.
Correct.
So how in the world could you ever come back and say, well, all the money goes to this? It doesn't even make any sense.
Yeah.
So because the business models are still business models. And again, 501c3 is a tax election, not a business model. Okay. Yeah, so we want to be in the business of serving and doing the mission and fulfilling the mission.
Yep.
So going back to who we are, what we do, and who we serve, it's really who we are, and who we serve. So, if we're ABC Charity and we send kids with cancer to camp. Last year we sent 100 kids. This year we're sending 150. Next year we're going to send 200 kids to camp. It costs $1,000 per kid. And what I'm asking you, Mr. Nelson, is how many kids you would like to help send to camp.
Yep. We'd like to invite you
All
to
it
help.
is.
Help us
You know,
reach that goal. Yeah.
and if I'm making that phone call, and this is where we kind of profile the people that we're calling, and I know that, if I think Trevor can write a check for $10,000, or I know that he can write a check for $10,000 and not miss it, then that's kind of how the question's going to go. That's how it is, because the invitation is the same regardless. See, the invitation doesn't change. If I call Calvin and I know Calvin can write a check for $10,000 and not miss it, well, that doesn't mean I'm just going to go try to tear his head off and say, you want to send 100 kids to camp?
Yeah.
That's not what I'm going to do. I'm still going to make that same invitation, because Calvin, because he knows he can and he cares, he's going to make that decision. That's his decision to make. I can't control that. Now, if he starts asking me, questions, that's going to allude to the size of his gift. Because, I may call Katie, and I'm calling you, Katie, and I don't know if you can write a check for $10,000, not miss it or not. I don't know. Now, hopefully I've got some kind of an idea, but maybe not. Maybe the fact is I could write a check for $10,000, but I'm going to miss it. Okay. It's going to be missed. So there's a difference. So I want you all to understand, when you're going through and you're creating this script, these are the things, but they're really important to do that. So the first thing, we want to know what it is. So in this case, we said it's $1,000. I cannot write a check without missing 10,000. So
Christine's coming with this question.
Let me, Christine, let's talk about this for a second. Okay. But there is a specific amount per child. Let me give you an example.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you, Katie, Christine, I'm sorry, Christine, because she's on Katie's login. So Christine, let me ask you a question. How many kids did you serve last year in 2022?
Wow. Awesome.
774.
That's a big number.
774 kids. How much? What was your budget for that year?
Good deal.
What's your budget? Annual budget? 345,800. So we're gonna make it 345. Well, we'll just say 350.
Let's call it 350, Jay. I got the math right here.
Okay, so 350,000 divided by 35112 divided by 774. That's $452. Yep. Okay. So we're going to just say $500. Now, I understand, because this is to give and to help people break it down. Mm-hmm. That's all you have to do.
Good round numbers. Make it easy to digest.
See, if you get two things, well, if we do special testing, well, that's $12.75. If we it sounds like a lot per child, but that's okay.
That's totally okay.
It's okay, because that's what it costs.
I actually don't think it will. To some folks it will, and some folks it won't. I mean, we talk to organizations that have had the opportunity to coach and work with organizations where it costs thousands per child.
Yeah.
Thousands.
Here's the deal. It's what it costs.
Yeah.
It's the real cost.
Don't be afraid of the number.
That's the real cost of it.
Yep.
Even though you may think, well, we've got some kids, and it's $2,500 for them for a whole year, and we've got this other program, and that's for kids just for one day, and it's a different cost. We're asking for money. We're wanting people to participate.
Yeah.
So when you start getting into those, and we've seen this where somebody says there's like 14 different levels. For this,
or 14 different programs within one organization.
And it gets too confusing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're talking about people that, hopefully the people that we're calling can write a check for at least, one child or more.
Yeah.
So that's where we're going to.
Well, I'm going to steal some of your phraseology, Jay, because you taught me, talking to folks like, hey, I know that you can, and I know that you care. And I'm going to push back, Christine, and say, if it's life altering for a child, $500 to someone who cares and who can and has the resources to write those kinds of checks, I actually don't think it's that much to some folks. You know what I mean? Yeah. Service next year we'll engage 850.
Well, I just think that's the whole thing, and you're talking about having 700, and like you said, next year we want to do 850.
Especially at that age too. I think that you're actually going to speak to people if folks understand what's going on these days with children of that age too, and like especially at-risk youth, and how there's so many different path that their lives can go down right now. It's a lot different than when I was growing up in the 80s and 90s, obviously. I think that could be really, really impactful as a message.
Would it be okay if we ask Christine just to kind of tell us what who these kids are a little bit?
Yeah.
Because Christine, I think this is one of the things
Are
that
they
is
at-risk
helpful
youth?
to everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think what you just said is exactly what.
I think it's good.
So
I think
okay.
you're really onto something. Yeah.
So really, so at risk, under resourced. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I got that
So
impression.
what's the name of your organization?
And we'll do this with other folks as well,
I
please.
hope you all don't mind. Yeah, we'll do this with somebody else if they want to, because
As well. Yeah.
okay, Youth Volunteer Corps of Hampton Roads. Okay, great.
Cool.
So my ask is going to go something like this, and I'm going to say this is what we do. Okay, Youth Volunteer Corps of Hampton Roads. We help take the kids off the streets. Okay, we help kids off the street. We help at risk. We help our at-risk teens become a better part of society, or re-engage in society. And I'm doing this off the cuff, so it'd take me a little bit to get it down, but you kind of get the idea. And you may have something already, but again, this is not necessarily a mission statement that's going to be 37 words long. And you want something that's just going to get close, okay, to encompassing the mission of what you do, because you're just wanting to engage with somebody. You're wanting to have a conversation. So when you're talking to somebody,
yeah, we do too.
So when you're talking to that, making that phone call, this is where you want to have this written down, and you want to have this very specific. And the reason that you want to have this specific, because that way it's easy for you to share that with your volunteers, your board, and whenever you hand it to them and say, hey gang, here's the real simple script. And this is all I want you to do. Because if you go and tell them, if you just say, hey, yeah, I'd like you to make some phone calls, we need to raise some money.
Yeah, most people aren't going to know what to do.
And I'm telling you, this is what everybody's going to start doing. They're going to start going, oh, I'm sorry. I appreciate it. Hey, thank you so much. I got to go. Okay.
Yeah.
And
no, totally. You are always learning, but from the onset of the conversation, Christine, making sure it's scripted. It's going to be an invitation. It's going to turn into an invitation. I know script, sometimes people sound, oh, it's contrived. It's not. It's a base for us to start. So everyone's got a succinct message, the mission's message, as a matter of fact. And once everybody gets, a few reps under their belt, so to speak, and makes those asks and has those conversations and learns from them, I think, yeah, great. I think it's great.
Well, here, let me give you an example.
Really fall in line nicely. I also, Jay, one minor point.
Yeah, please go ahead.
I think folks really want to be involved with a winner. And if you're serving 774 youth in your community, I think that's massive. I think that you should celebrate that. I also think that equipping, once you get to that point in the conversation where folks are asking more questions, I think you can share some real-time stories or some success stories of where those children are now that you've served. I think that'd be really, really huge, but that probably seems pretty obvious. But anyway, that's a huge win.
Going back to the ask and scripting this out, now that we know what we do, that we're helping at-risk youth, the second thing that we know that we have is that it's about $500 per child, per teen, however you want to call it, that's about what it costs us. And I'm this is an approximation. It doesn't have to be, well, it was actually $473.
I really like that you rounded up to 500 because it's nice.
Let's just round it up, make it an easy number to ask. So you can round it up to the next whole number. Nobody's going to audit you on this, okay? It's going to be okay. Because what we're not doing is we're not asking for, this is not a locked in gift. Okay. I think that's really important. Sometimes everybody gets worried about that because this is a specific thing. See, we're asking for the whole budget. It's $500 a kid. Somebody goes, I'm going to sponsor 10 kids, $5,000. Okay. $5,000 just went in your general fund. So all of a sudden, you've got this ability to raise money. These numbers work for everything, not only for a year-end ask. Let's say that you need to raise $25,000, and you're saying, you know what, I'd like to see if we can raise an extra 25 grand, okay? Because we want to send an extra 50 kids. Our goal is, we think we've got some other money coming in, and we want to do that. So here's a real simple thing that you can do. get that number down, write the first thing down, and just to say hi. You know, I'm going to do this. Hi, Trevor. My name's Jason. I'm with,
Hi, Jason.
I forgot what the name of it is. I can't remember anything.
Hampton.
With Youth Volunteer Corps of Hampton
Roads.
Roads.
Yeah.
And, you know, we help at-risk youth here in our community. And this past year, we've done 774 kids that we were able to bring them up off the streets. Next year, we want to do 850. For each one of these, it costs about $500 a kid. And
Yeah,
what
it's a big
I'd like
jump.
to ask you, Trevor, is if you'd like to be a part of that. And that's it. Then I stop talking.
Can I say something? Can I add something? I think
Yeah.
Sometimes saying the obvious can be really, really liberating. Not in a jocular fashion, you know what I mean? But hey, and that's a really ambitious goal that we have. You know what I mean? And we need your help. So saying that jump from 774 to 850, listen, it's going to take all of us. It's a really ambitious goal, but these kids need it. You know,
Well,
that
one
kind of
thing I
thing.
would say
I
at
like
first,
that.
though,
Yeah.
I would say at first, before you go down that road, is
Yeah.
tell people what it is
Yeah.
and then stop.
Sure.
The
Yeah.
number one thing that I've seen in fundraising over the past 30 years is that people will
Overspeaking.
they'll talk too much, and they'll talk somebody into it, and then they'll talk them out of it.
Yeah, silence is
That
good for
fast.
sure. Yeah. I
And
get you,
so,
Christine. Absolutely.
and then we sit with the silence and wait for them to speak. Yes,
Sure.
because you got to give them a chance to talk. You know, sometimes we're so excited about what we're doing, and once we roll, and we just don't stop and take a breath.
Yeah, it's not because you're a bad person. It's actually a lot of times because you have so much information that you're just, giving it all at one time. And, it kind of clogs the pipe, so to speak, sometimes, what I mean, when we overspeak.
You know, these are things that you can do, because it's kind of an obvious ask.
Yeah.
We'd like to know, how many kids would you like to sponsor?
Absolutely.
You know, it's $500. Well, I don't know that I could sponsor a whole kid, but I'm happy to maybe send you $50. Fantastic. Thank you so much. That'd be wonderful. Thank you, Trevor.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
I mean, it took a phone call through, less than 90 seconds probably to get there, and you make $50. Well, if it's, just say it's 2 minutes and $50 times 30, that's $1,500 an hour. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So,
awesome.
it adds up really fast. So you see how these asks and how powerful the phone can be. And again, the same thing, whenever I'm leaving a message for somebody, or I'm sending an email, or I'm doing something like that, that's the way I want to go about it, because, it's the same thing. I'm leaving a message, hey, Trevor, hey, this is Jason Ledlow, and I'm here at the Hampton Roads. We're helping kids, helping kids get off the street. I know that you can. I know you care. I know you have a heart for kids. We helped 775 last year. We're going to help 850 next year. We'd love to help you, have you come and help us. It's $500 a kid. Let me know how many kids you'd like to sponsor.
We're extending the invitation.
Don't make it where it's back and forth. Well, hi, Trevor. This is Jason Ledlow. Give me a call. Go ahead and tell them what you're asking about.
Do it.
I think one of the biggest mistakes that we do is we play phone tag, and we're
not respecting people's time. Yep.
Now, if I have their email, I'm going to follow up with an email, and I'm just going to say, hey, Trevor, I just left you a voicemail. I hope this finds you well. Here's what I said, and we'd love to, hopefully get your help. Because now I'm telling them I've left him a phone call. Because he may not know my number.
Suggestions as well. Yeah.
He may not know. He may not recognize my number, thinks it's spam, dumps it to voicemail. Okay, that happens all the time. I get calls. I don't know who it is. I'm dumping it to voicemail. So, because I get 1,000 calls a day, and 500 of them are spam.
If you know the person, we're saying it's okay to text. If you know the person, good with that. I have 2 suggestions for subject lines on your follow-up email. You can actually put RE:voicemail in the subject line, or you can simply put RE:thank you and the person's first name. So there's just some simple suggestions.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Let's go back to the scripting piece, though.
Yeah.
So again, this is who you are, who you serve, what you've done, what you're doing, what you're going to do, and how they can help.
Yep.
Because this same simple script will follow with everything. If you're calling for sponsorships, underwriting,
For an event. Yeah.
anything that has to do, this is not something for a capital campaign. We're not talking about that. But all these same numbers always apply the same thing. You're calling somebody for your event and you're calling for for sponsorships. Hey, Trevor, this is Jason. Hey, last year we helped 775 kids. This year we're going to do 850. Our big gala's coming up. I know that you've been there in the past. I'd love to have you come back and be one of our sponsors. And, this is what we're going to do. That's it. It's really simple. And I think one of the biggest mistakes that I've seen in the nonprofit world, I've experienced this, okay, because I've had lots of people call me over the years, because I was not in this business for my professional side. I had a lot of people call and they would beat around the bush and try to tell me stuff. And I'm like, I've got to go.
And you knew they were calling to ask you for money.
Well, I knew they were going to ask me for money, and that's okay, but get to the ask.
Yeah.
Because then I can say yes or no. It's real simple.
Yeah, there's different personality types, but some people are just like, my time is very, very valuable. I need you to get to the point so I can know how I can help. Make the invitation, make the ask.
We talked about this last week a little bit, and there's a really good, it's about who people are, the doers, the thinkers, the feelers, and the intuitives. And if you're a doer, you got to get stuff done. I got to go. Yep. I got lots of phone calls to make. You're not the only one, but hey, I'm going to talk to you because I'm a doer. I'll get stuff done. Yeah. So what is it you want me to do? Because I do.
Yeah.
Okay. Thinkers. Now they're going to be the ones that they're going to need a lot more information.
Same in the email with the stats. Yep.
But if you start giving all that information to a doer, they're going to be done because they got to go because they got stuff to do.
Yep.
Now a feeler, if you realize that they're kind of asking questions about, wow, that must be real. That's awesome. That's whenever you can say, let me tell you a story about little Tim.
Yep.
Tim was out here on the streets. He was banging, ganging, doing all kinds of bad stuff. And now guess what? He just got his GED. He just got accepted into junior college and he's going to be on his way. And that happened because somebody like you took the time to write a check to underwrite one of these kids. Yep. That's the kind of stuff it is.
Yep.
And, awesome. Practice does all this, but
reps.
Going back to the script, having it there to do those things over and over and over again. And when you give that to your board and you talk to them for 5 minutes and say, look, gang, I need you to make some calls. Here's 10 people, or call 10 people in your system and you do this. Mm-hmm. You'd be surprised what kind of, because they're going to, people they know, and people that know us are not offended when we ask them. In fact, I think they're honored. And I think we misunderstand that we think that they're going to be put off. They're not.
Oh, I think it's flattering. If it's done right, I think it's flattering.
It is. It's flattering as long as we don't try to make it too soupy and just get to the point,
Okay, let's questions. Yeah, great call for questions. I have something to say as well, about, you said, just like, as long as it doesn't sound like, canned, or there's going to be a lot of folks calling the same people more than likely. And if you can differentiate yourselves and your message from the other calls that these folks are going to be getting, it will breed success. Mm-hmm. So being, you don't have to go head to head like, oh, our organization's better than them. I keep preaching differentiation is more powerful than competition. So, that means your message is tighter. That means that you're more succinct with, qualifying why you're asking, quantifying, how much it costs to serve the people that you're serving, things like that. A lot of other organizations are not going to be doing that and making those invitations the way you will be. So I think differentiation is huge. Just realize these folks are getting more than one phone call, more than likely.
Well, they are. They are getting more phone calls, but there's plenty of money.
Exactly.
One of the things that
$2.6 trillion.
When you've got
$2.6 trillion.
Yeah. Well, when you've got someone who has significant capacity to give, they are going to get more phone calls than just yours. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. They've got more money to give than just to you or to someone else or whatever.
And that's okay.
And a lot of times it comes down to the fact that if you asked them or not. And if you didn't ask them, they don't even know that you have a need. Because this is what we found out through some surveys, is that when people didn't ask, they assumed they had plenty of money.
Interesting.
So if you're not asking, people are going to assume that you must have plenty of money.
You don't need help. Yeah.
And I've never in my life met a nonprofit that had too much money. Has anybody, how about a show of hands? Has anybody here ever had too much money in the nonprofit? Anybody? Anyone? It's never happened.
Yeah.
But people still assume that. And what we want to do is we want to help them with that. We want to make sure that they understand that, no, we are here, we are growing, there is a need. That there are more kids to serve. There are more, whatever it is you're doing, there is a larger need, because the more money that you get, obviously, the more services you provide, the more you can do.
Yep.
The thing that holds us back, money is the gas that fuels the tank. And so we want to make sure that we keep that coming in, and by that has that. And the reality is we're doing a disservice to our mission. We're doing a disservice to the people, our stakeholders, if we're not making these asks.
Yeah.
But it comes back to picking up the phone, and it is uncomfortable. I'll ask again, who here just woke up today and couldn't wait to make a phone call?
Yeah.
Ask for money. I don't know anybody. We say there's a 90% call reluctance, and it is, but I think it's even more so whenever they got to ask for money. I think people will do a lot.
Yeah.
So, hey, we got
some questions. I'm going to hit you. I'm going to hit you with them, brother.
Okay.
Christine says, our current plan for the next few weeks is gratitude phone calls, then send out a mailed end of the year letter asking for our anniversary campaign. Is that a good plan?
I think it's a great plan. Let me ask you this. How's it worked in the past?
Any data? It's good.
Is this the first time you've done it?
Oh, never done it. Okay, fun. I think it's cool. I think starting any conversation with thank you is massive. Yeah.
Well,
I think it's massive.
And I think what you're doing is you're doing two things. One is you should always make sure you call your number one stakeholders. We're going to be talking about this the next 2 weeks. We're going to be talking about.
We're actually talking about gratitude. Yeah, the next two episodes. And we've got someone in 2 Thursdays from now. Don't miss next Thursday, but in 2 Thursdays from now, we have someone whose actual job is in the gratitude space. Their actual profession, the company they created. So very exciting.
Yeah. So that's always something good when you're calling somebody and saying, hey, you know what? Because of you, we were able to serve 775 kids this year. Because of you, 775 at-risk youth were not lost to the streets.
Yeah.
And you can do that. And that means a lot.
Yeah.
Don't ask them for money, but don't ask them for $1. You're thanking them.
Yep.
You're thanking gratitude is gratitude.
You're celebrating the win. Yep.
And I think having a year-end letter mailed out with 2 things on it, I think there should be, don't put any recipes, don't put any silly stories. Nobody cares about that. But if you put some headlines, because you remember we've got multiple people that, we want to touch on all bases. So we've got the headlines. Those are the big things that we've done, because those are for the doers, because doers are busy doing and they just need a little bit of information, a headline, they got to go on. Okay. That we're asking, here's what it is. Here's the campaign. Here's what we're asking for. Now you've also got the feelers. So we want to have the feel good success stories in there. So that way
images. Yep.
And then we want to have some things for the thinkers, because thinkers, okay, I'm gonna give you an example. My wife is a thinker. She is a CPA. She's an accountant. She wants a lot of information. She wants to think about it. And then she's going to make a decision.
Yep.
And she's very, and she's very giving. She's very thoughtful about that, but she wants some information. And so that's where you're going to give all those things, your audit results, what you've done, how you're, the stability of your organization. Again, people don't want to give to a company, to an organization that's going to fail or they think is going to fail. Mm-hmm. And lastly, in that letter, I would say, we don't want to be a doom and gloom. We want to, you want to make it to the celebration. Sure, these are some sad things, but here's the story, here's the happy ending, as much as we can do. So keep those things in mind, Christine, whenever you're writing your letter. I think those are really important for everybody writing your end letters.
Love it. I love starting with thank you. I think it's great.
So next one, hey Trevor, I find I hear already spent allowed amount for this year in November and December. What's a great comeback for the next year?
To participate in the following year. Is that what you're saying, Paula?
Well, I'm going to let you answer it first, and then I'll go. Why? What is a what's a response that you can give when somebody says, well, I've already spent my money for the year?
Yeah, I guess I just think I kind of need more context. Well,
I can
already
tell you,
spent.
I can tell you what it is.
Yeah,
I'm gonna hop in here if that's okay.
yeah,
So, just in the context of time, Paula, they're telling you no.
yeah. I mean,
Okay,
sure.
it's just
Yeah,
it's a no.
yeah,
Don't get caught up in it. That's
yeah.
just a way for them to say no and let them without saying no.
We've already exceeded our budget. These kinds of things. I understand completely. My first response to everything is thank you. Of course, if they've already participated early in the year, okay, thank you so much. You probably have the data in front of you, those kinds of things, but always leave it on a good note. Jason's absolutely correct. It is kind of a put off, so to speak, or a simple no. And that's fine. That's totally okay. Cause
Mhm.
we're not going to bat 1,000,
No, you're not. You're
in
not
this
going to.
in this type of situation. So I always leave things well. You never know where that relationship, that might be a phone call that you make to the same person 10 years in a row, but in year 11 they give you $10,000. That's how I look at things, because I'm very glass half full. So
We've got an organization where a lady, I think for 5 years, she gave $100 a year at the end of the year,
yeah,
and at the end, when she passed away, left him $5 million.
yeah. I mean,
Never
so
gave more, never, not a nickel. But
yeah,
at the end of her life, that's what she gave him.
yeah.
But
My intuition
yeah,
tells me that people are gonna respond to how they feel every interaction went, and
yeah.
they're gonna end up giving to people that they like. And if they leave the conversation after telling you no for whatever reason, so we don't know what's going on in their life, but you never know where those
Well,
relationships are
it
gonna
just
go.
may be that your mission doesn't fit their giving profile.
It's
Okay.
fine. Yeah,
And that's
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
because not everyone's mission is going to fit everyone's giving profile. Now, we all want to say that. We all think that. There are some people that are all about food insecurity. That is their mission. So, if, to the food bank, to ways of providing food, that's
Because
where they
maybe
the
they grew
majority
up
of their funds.
hungry.
And
Yeah,
that's where, yeah, that's their
yeah,
heart is.
yeah.
Some, it may be some kind of a domestic violence. Some, it may be illiteracy. It could be, just, infants, and, they're a sucker. They'll give you anything for diapers and formula, but they won't give $1, for at-risk teen. It's okay.
Totally okay.
Just understand that sometimes people are saying no, but they're not saying not now. They're saying no,
Yeah,
and that's okay.
yeah.
But I wouldn't spend too much time on it, quite frankly. A lot more time gets spent on trying to turn no's into yeses when you should just
Yeah, this isn't like
thank
yeah.
you, and go to the next person.
This
Okay.
isn't phone sales where we want to start talking about rebuttals and things like that.
Yeah,
And
you just
this
got
is
to
a
go. Hey,
win-win. You know
thanks
what
a
I mean?
bunch.
And
You know,
no means
Send it,
no for
well,
right now. It
and
doesn't
here's
mean
what
no
you could do to
forever.
find out. Send them a year-end ask and send it to them in July.
That's a good one. I like that.
So if it's a simple deal of doing
Yeah.
it, you can send it to them in July and just see if you can get on the calendar.
Yeah, I like
So,
that.
but I think you'll find that that's not going to be the case. They just said, well, we've done all our giving for the year. So
Yep. I hope that helps, Paula.
good
Yeah,
question. Great question, though. Great question.
for sure. And
Anybody
it's something
else?
we're all going to hear.
Anybody
Anything else
else?
that we can help folks with while we got you? Because we are here for another few minutes.
Mhm.
And hopefully, I hope this helps. I hope this has been helpful for folks overcoming any insecurity or any fear about grabbing the phone. These things can all be overcome, and it's usually a perspective change. You know what I mean? When we do, or we make that shift.
Well, in wrapping up, we got another question. Hold on.
Cool. Keep them coming,
Oh,
everybody.
there's Bev.
Hey, Bev.
How can we determine the interest of donors we have not contacted in past years? Contacting them.
Pick up the phone, I
Contact
suppose.
them.
Yeah, I'd say pick up the phone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just contact them. I think we all overthink this stuff way too much. And it really comes down to simple human stuff. You haven't talked to somebody in a while, and somebody goes, well, I don't know. We sent them an invitation. They haven't done anything. When's the last time you picked up the phone and called them?
Yeah.
Hey, Trevor. Hey, it's Jason. Hey, I know you haven't been part of our part of our gala in the last 5 years. We'd really like to get you re-involved. Tell me what we could do. Maybe I'd love to come by and visit with you about how you and Shelby could get involved again and become part of our event.
I love that. Yeah.
You got a few minutes.
Once again.
And guess what? He's either going to say, you know what, I really don't. I appreciate the call, but I'm going to have to pass. Thank you.
Yep.
And that's okay. Or he's
Totally
going to
okay.
say, well, you know what? It was kind of one of those things. We just had to miss a year because we had a family reunion to go to, and then one thing and another, and then we had a child. And then, so, but yeah, you know what? I think it'd be great. Let's talk.
Yeah. Yep. What are you up to? What are y'all up to now? Yeah. That kind of thing. Lovely. In the arts literacy, how do we find out before contacting them
You
what their
don't. You got to
interests are?
contact them.
Yeah, you don't know until you know, frankly, Bev. I mean, you have to do some
Yeah.
exploratory work there, I think.
This is
Um,
fundraising is about relationships.
yeah,
Fundraising is about relationships. It's not a mathematical equation that you can go and fill out, and you're going to have some kind of secret spy stuff that you can sprinkle pixie salt on them, and you're going to know, because this one turns blue, that means that they're going to be into this, and this one
yeah,
turns pink, and that means they're into something else, and it just doesn't work that way.
yeah.
It's about relationships, and it's about who you know. It's about who your donors, who your board knows, who your committees know, who your volunteers, who your staff knows. And
Hmm.
those are organizations that are cultivated over time. We have a friend of ours, she's a really phenomenal CEO, done a phenomenal job here in Oklahoma City. And she cultivated a guy created a relationship with him for 5 years. 5 years. I think she called him once a quarter,
Yeah.
once every 6 months, something like
Hmm.
that,
Hmm.
for 5 years. Now that sounds like a long time, but if you think about the amount of time she did, and then at 5 years, it was about that. He said, "Hey, we'd like to come in with a significant gift." And I think their initial gift was $20,000 or something like that. And so, it's relationship. It's
Well,
not
it's being
what you know.
consistent too. It sounds like she was
Well, it
consistent. It's
is. It's
like, oh,
consistent.
this person cares. They didn't leave the organization. If you're really, really introverted, it might be tough. You know what I mean? It might be a tough road.
But this
So
is why you go process. See, I believe
I agree.
introverts, extroverts. I don't. I'm completely disagree because it's about
Yeah.
process. Some of the best people on the phone I've ever seen were definitely introverted. But what they did was they didn't just pick up the phone and start just yammering to somebody.
Yeah.
They scripted it out so they knew
Yep.
what they were going to say,
They had a
how
process.
they were going to say it,
Yep.
and there was a simple ask.
Yep.
This is not, I'm trying to have a conversation for 6 minutes. We're talking about making an ask. We're not talking about, and let me just bring back one more thing. I mentioned this a while back. A friend of mine and my wife's, she's on a foundation. She made a comment. She said she was going to go meet with this gentleman. This gentleman has 3 comma money. Okay. That means he's got a lot.
Hmm.
Well, he doesn't, maybe not 3 comma, but he's got solid 2 comma money. Okay.
Hmm.
We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars of capacity to give.
Hmm.
And she was going to go meet with him. And I said, really? Well, how much are you going to ask him for? She goes, well, I wasn't going to do that. I said, why not? Do you think that, he's in his 80s.
Hmm.
Do you think that he's really wanting to start a relationship with you? He and his wife, they're wanting to just hang out and be buddies? No, he's doing it because he cares about the organization that you're with and he expects you to ask him for money.
Yeah.
They do. I'm telling you, when somebody takes your call, that they know that you're going to be calling, or they take your appointment, they know that you're going to be asking for money, don't disappoint them. For the
Weird.
goodness
Yeah.
sakes, don't disappoint them.
Yeah.
Because then they're going to be going, well, I don't know really what that was about.
Yeah.
All she had to do is ask.
I
And she
wish you'd have
didn't
just
ask.
asked sooner. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
And we get caught up in all this. And so we get caught up in, well, I just want to, there's an organization we know, a friend of ours worked at, and she worked out there for a while. They wanted you to call somebody 5 times before you ever ask them for money. That is befuddling to me. In all my history of being around great fundraisers, I don't know any of them that waited 5 times. Now, they might have had to dial the phone 5 times before they were able to ask him, but as soon as they got him on the phone, they asked him because they might not ever get another appointment.
Right.
So you got to make that ask. So,
No question. Yeah. I hope that's encouraging to folks to hear that. When I say introvert, extrovert, what I mean is, obviously you can be successful if you're introverted. If you do have a process, point taken. I concur there. But don't let it be an excuse, is what I mean. Oh, I'm an introvert, or well, you care about the mission
That's
or you wouldn't have the
exactly,
job.
yeah.
You know what I mean? That's why I think I'm trying to say that very carefully. Don't let it be an excuse.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? To not ask is what it boils down to. It's like, oh, it didn't work. I'm so introverted and stuff like that. Well, you're in a position where it requires that you ask. So hope this has been helpful. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you a funny story. So we have, they're a client, and when she first went to work for this company and she was being interviewed, they said, "Can you call and ask for money?" She goes, "Absolutely." She genuinely meant, "Yes, I can do this." And once she got the job and she got in the deal and she started picking up the phone, she freaked out because she goes, "Oh my God, this is going to be terrible. This is, I can't do it. I'm not good at it, whatever." And it is hard.
Yeah.
Picking up the phone and asking somebody for money is very hard, especially the first call. The first call is the hardest. That's why I always tell people, don't base it on how you feel, base it on time. Set your schedule that at 10 o'clock, I'm going to start making phone calls, and I'm going to make phone calls from 10 and to 11 o'clock. I'm going to dial the phone.
Yep.
Then I'm going to take a break. Regardless of what I've done, whether I've raised $1 or I've raised $1 million, I'm just going to make these phone calls. And then I'm going to pick it up in the afternoon at 2 o'clock, and I'm going to do it again.
Yeah.
Because then you schedule it and you can't make an excuse out of it. Otherwise, I mean, you can negotiate with yourself. Because if you wait to do how you feel, you may never pick up the phone.
True story.
I lift weights 3 to 4 days a week. Hard. I lift hard, have for 12 years. I was at the gym the other day and I'm sitting down talking, this guy I know, and he goes, "What's the matter, man? You not feeling it today?" And I said, "Paul, I never feel it. In 12 years of going to the gym, lifting weights, I've never woke up and going, yippee, I get to go lift weights." Now, during what I'm doing it, and then after, I feel great. I love it. But I always want to pull the covers over and go back to sleep. It's just me. I don't want to get up and go do it. And so you got to do the same thing. If you're waiting until you feel right, you're never going to feel right. But if you just start doing it and following the script, make it really simple. And if you really want to dig down and you're not sure how to do it, sign up for a free coaching session.
Yeah,
Trevor and I will walk you through this. There's no obligation. It's absolutely free. We'll spend an hour with you. We do this all the time, and it's so fascinating it's wonderful we can do this and provide this service because we see it all the time, and we can help you get something where you can go ahead and make those calls and have confidence that what you're going to say is not going to piss anybody off. It's not going to make you sound stupid. It's not going to, embarrass you. It's just real practical. Yeah. It is just a practical exercise, no different than standing up, doing some jumping jacks, walking around your desk 10 times or anything else. It's just an exercise.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it takes practice, takes reps. Hopefully we can be encouraging.
I want to just say something too. And if you're really wanting to think about, maybe you're pretty good at it, you want to go to the next level, call Trevor. This guy right here is one of the best. He is our ambassador of gratitude. He's so good at it. Little things like changing the email subject line, little ways that he can say thank you, little things that he does in his doing this for years and years really is very significant. So if you want a master class on doing that, we're going to do one. We've got gratitude coming up.
Yeah.
So he doesn't know it, but this is what we're doing next week. I'm going to do, it's going to be a master class with Trevor and gratitude. How to do everything from an email to a salutation to writing things, and to how to change a negative into a positive.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I appreciate that. That's really awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you.
So hey, you got a little bit of juice.
I don't like it. Don't say masterclass, man. It's pressure. That's a lot of pressure. But
you can do it.
But no, really, really good. I hope everyone got a lot of value out of that, and we can keep the conversation going. Jason meant what he said about signing up for a free coaching session. We give our time away for free. As you can tell, we give our best information away for free as well. There's no strings attached. So take us up on that offer, and whatever we can do to help, you can practice on us and give us phone calls or go over your script with us on a conference call or something along those lines, or a video conference, and we're happy to help you. So, and we are looking forward to the gratitude cycle that we're going to hop on the next couple of weeks. So it'll be good. So Do we have a winner? Do we have a winner, sir?
We do. We
Okay.
do. Jessamy Fout.
All
Jessamy Fout,
right.
yay, you want a
Cool.
trip
Right
that you're going to be able
on.
to use to raise more money at your next fundraising event. We'll send those details out. Morgan will have those over to you.
We'll have the recording
And
out
we're also
tomorrow
going to
with the-
send out, we're also going to send out a recording. It'll come out tomorrow, either this afternoon or tomorrow. You'll get it in the email of this. Would you do us a favor? Would you please just share this with another nonprofit professional, somebody who you think that would benefit from listening to this content and hearing these things? It would mean the world to us if you would do that for us. That's just how we get the word out. And
awesome. Yeah. Yeah. And invite them to our gratitude episodes the next 2 Thursdays. So really looking forward to those. Noon Central. Thanks everyone for coming this week, and we'll see you all next week. Enjoy your Thursdays, what's left of them. And thanks so much. Thank you, brother. That was awesome. We'll see you all next week. Thanks so much.
take care, everybody. We'll see
Bye
you.
now.